Just home reaction. This is another update on Russia-Ukraine situation. What is happening, man? Russia army surrounded, bridge destroyed. This is the type of news I'm constantly hearing. The updates are coming so fast. It's like I can't even keep up anymore. Where this from the channel enforcers, like always, obviously. And Ukraine is still destroying bridges. Russian army is still like not having any kind of response yet, which is still surprising to me. Like I said, like history, this will go down in history as like a insane thing to happen. But more than that, even more insane thing would be Russia's response, right? Because you would think their response would be fast, at least fast enough. It's been a long time now, and like not much of response. What is happening? So I'm guessing Ukraine already calculated all this before doing it. Somehow they already knew that Russia is not going to be able to answer fast or something. They must have known that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have attempted this, which is interesting. So yeah, more bridges collapse, more things destroyed. I guess Ukraine still have Kursk or something. Not, I'm pretty sure they don't have a town of Kursk, but things around it. I don't know. We'll see in this update. But it's going to be interesting. Let's watch it.
Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. Today's breaking news is that within the area of the Glishkovo district of the Kursk Oblast, 700 Russian soldiers have been trapped south of the Reka Sam as the major bridgeway crossing the river of Sam from Glishkovo has been destroyed in a decisive airstrike by Ukrainian armed forces just over the past 2 hours. We were able to get picture and video evidence showing that the bridge had been destroyed. We were able to see pictures from earlier in this morning showing that the bridge once again had suffered the primary hit that we saw in the first two. That as of this morning, 2 additional HIMARS impacts have been recorded on the bridge, most likely caused by some form of a GMLRS rocket that was fired by a HIMARS. Then, later on the day, this picture began to emerge, showing that several spans of the bridge had completely collapsed into the Sam River below, and it appears that the bridge and its access into the southern area and the Glishkovo district has been completely wiped out. Then, just about an hour later, we were able to get footage from the Ukrainian Air Force confirming that the airstrike had occurred and was a success. Here is the clip of the bridge actually being hit by the Ukrainian guided ordnance, which would then knock out the bridge and the access to the entirety of the Glishkovo district. I'm going to be muting that audio there for a second, but we can see the airstrike coming in right here, slamming into the bridge, and the strike was powerful enough that it actually disconnected some of the spans. You can actually see them hitting the water right there in the Sem, and completely knocking out access to the Glishkovo district. The Glishkovo Bridge is by far the most important bridge that is in the Glishkovo district. There are actually 3, which we can count. There is one.
Yeah, one thing is insane. Like, did they use F-16 for this one? Like, yeah, but yeah, the airstrike, they're destroying bridges now. Like, that implies that they're trying to hold this position, right? For a long time, because they're trying to destroy Russia's any response, right? You need bridges and things if you want to take back something. So Ukraine is not planning to give back anytime soon. So they're there for a long haul. I mean, it makes sense. Whenever negotiations happen, they need Kursk in their side or something, like give me Donbass. So yeah, I think it kind of makes sense, but it's insane. Like Russia is not seeing this coming or something.
Towards the area of Karish. This one has absolutely no strategic value from what we understand, and so we're not including it in the analysis. However, there is another smaller bridge that does lead to an access towards Relisk in the town of Zavno, which we can see right here. And this one is apparently still damaged, as Ukrainian artillery has been trying to knock this one out as well, but this one has not been completely destroyed yet. However, the actual bridge at Glishkovo has been completely destroyed as of right now. This is an incredibly important fact to talk about because the entire Glishkovo district is south of the Reka Sem, meaning that the entire river serves as a natural barrier in between it and the rest of the Kursk Oblast, which is controlled by the Russian Federation further up north and in the area of Relisk. From what we understand, the Ukrainians now have complete access to this area, and the Russian forces, numbering about 700 men that are in the area in between Snigost and Tetkino and south of the Reka Sem, are completely surrounded at this point and really will have no way out. There is, however, one thing that the Russians have done that has been seen on satellite footage that happened about 2 days ago. they did set up a pontoon bridge further east on the river, and you can actually see it right there. It's very faint on the satellite image, but it is not that far away from the main Glishkovo bridge. Now, again, I should bring y'all there on satellite and show y'all this. This is where, right here, where the crossing has been made. Of course, there aren't really any well-made roads, even dirt roads, through this area, meaning that Russian logistical movements, just moving the 700 guys out in their vehicles, may end up getting bogged down on the muddy-ish ground that surrounds the Wreck SM, meaning that this isn't really the most viable supply route, and this most likely only serves as a path of retreat, not a path of continued sustainment for logistics to be able to move over and keep the Russian garrison, the 700 men that are south of the Wreck SM, operational and fighting against the Ukrainians. So we are assuming that at this point, either the Russians are going to conduct a full retreat, or the pontoon bridge and the last remaining bridge over the river that's already damaged at this point down in the area of Zvno will most likely be knocked out as well, and the 700 Russians will be entirely trapped south of the river at this point. From what we largely know, they already are trapped south of the river because there isn't really an easy way to move an entire battalion of border guards and all of their equipment across a damaged bridge, which most likely will not be able to support the weight of their retreat, or the pontoon bridge, which doesn't really have any kind of a viable road system around it, and once again, will not be able to support a large-scale rapid retreat back across the Sem. We also were able to get information and pictures of the other bridges in the area. One of these is the bridge all the way down that we said that is not strategically viable. That's this bridge. But the one in Zvno is this one right here. This bridge is fairly small. From what we understand, it's a 2-lane bridge. The one at Glishkovo was 2-lane, but from what we understand, it had a larger weight restriction on it, meaning that larger vehicles could cross over. But this bridge is really the last one left. This one's also been damaged as well, according to information that we have from HIMARS strikes, but it takes second fiddle compared to the Glishkovo bridge because, once again, the amount of tonnage that could be moved across the Zvno bridge was far less than the amount of tonnage that could be moved over the Glishkovo bridge. After the Glishkovo bridge was declared destroyed by Ukrainian armed forces, we started to hear that the Ukrainians are beginning a rapid advance towards the area, already moving out from Snegost and in.
See, this is the thing. Something I kind of knew a long time. Like, Russia's so big, and like their economy is not reflecting of the landmass they control, neither their population. There can be many minus points in that geography, right? Like in America, right? People create roads left and right, bridges left and right, like interstate this and that, because they think of all scenarios. What if some kind of invasion happens? What if you have to move things? There's always a scenario that Americans have thought of. While in Russia, you can have town like Kursk with just like 2-3 bridges. Some of the bridges cannot even hold a big weaponry and things, tanks and things, to supply things, to retreat things. Basically, what Ukrainians are exploiting here, right? Now, how many places might be there like that has this kind of exploit to them, right? Because Russia can control everything. That's how big it is, right? Russia is that's insanely big. So Ukraine is just exploiting this. But what surprised me is that Russia didn't even thought of that. Like, what if Ukraine or anyone else, right? What if they try to take over this place cross from this border type of way? They didn't even thought of that. Like, what if that happens? We need something like near bridge, because they won't even in the nightmare they won't think like nobody's gonna like really invade Russia. I mean, come on, type of way, and it happens. So they're really caught off guard right now. They're really confused what to do, what not to do, and just like, I guess they're thinking of battle plan or something. I don't know.
The area of Vishnevka at this very moment. The reports that we're getting are actually giving us an idea that the Ukrainians are going to be advancing so rapidly that there probably will not be a good amount of time for the Russians to even conduct a retreat across the Wreck SM. They're most likely going to get stuck on the southern end, especially if the bridge at Zvno ends up being destroyed. The only bridge that's usable at this moment near Glishkovo is the pontoon bridge. We put it down on the map right here with a little NATO marking sign for a bridge, but the reality is that it's actually just up here where my mouse cursor is on the map. But nevertheless, the Ukrainians are advancing very rapidly towards the area of Glishkovo. Just over the past few hours, they've advanced over about 2 kilometers, meaning that by the end of the day, the town of Glishkovo could be under fire directly from Ukrainian armed forces on the ground, and not only that, the pontoon bridge may be overrun, meaning that the Russians are not retreating at this moment, which from what we understand they are not, they will most likely be cut off from any path of retreat, and therefore 700 Russians will end up being forced to surrender later on in the battle to the Ukrainian armed forces, because there's really no way for them to get out of this situation and to try and save themselves at this moment. This is one of the largest developments so far that we've seen in the Kursk offensive. Probably one of the biggest upsets for the Russian side, but one of the biggest victories for the Ukrainian side is that they were able to destroy that bridge before the Russians were able to cross it and retreat further north, allowing these forces to not fight another day and depriving the Russians of about another entire battalion of combat power in this area at the moment. Meanwhile, we also got a little bit more news that was fairly interesting out of the area of Kursk today, as we were able to hear that the city of Kursk apparently came under attack and had caught on fire from drone attacks. We don't know much detail about the fires that have been caused here. You can actually see the town sign of Kursk right there in this picture, once again confirming that these drone attacks and fires did occur in the city of Kursk. We don't have a lot of information about what this attack consisted of in terms of the number of drones, in terms of the Russian air involvement, anything like that. We haven't really been able to get much. Or
That is insane. Ukrainians are they're playing from all sides. Well, blocking off access, blocking off paths to retreat, doing some kind of a sabotage here and there. I feel like this plan has been going on for like a year or something, right? Some kind of battle plan, like we have to attack Russia or something, like how to do it. This is a well thought out plan, right? While in the other side, Russia never even dream of this, so have no contingency in place. So I feel like Russia will need time to basically adjust to this somehow, and who knows how long time. But yeah, they will need time to basically think of what to do, what not to do. And but one thing's for damn sure: after this, they won't be able to, like, more invasion will be harder, because I'm pretty sure Russia would think of, like, if they can invade us once, they can invade us again type of way. So I don't think this is going to be happening anytime soon. So this is now or never type of thing for Ukraine, because there won't be any second chance.
Any information on that, but once again, it does appear that Ukrainian drones did attack the city of Kursk and did end up causing some pretty significant damage from what we could tell. Meanwhile, the Russians are trying their hand at anti-ship warfare again, and not on any armed targets, but on unarmed civilian vessels, as we did see that a picture surfaced today of a cargo ship, a grain carrier, being hit near the city of Odessa. From what we understand, it was most likely hit by a Russian anti-ship missile, either air condition to even get close enough to fire on these vessels, so we're considering that was an air-launched anti-ship missile, but it ended up hitting near to the engine bay of the ship, and from what we can understand, it is right outside of Odessa harbor at this moment and still on fire. Of course, an incredibly unfortunate scenario, but still showing that the Russian Federation is trying any chance they can to inflict damage and suffering onto the Ukrainian civilian populace and the populace of civilians around the world and other countries wherever they can. Meanwhile, moving on all the way into Kursk, we did get confirmation today of the Tu-22 M3's crash and the subsequent wreckage that was caused. Apparently, not every crew member was able to eject out of this aircraft, and we now heard that a navigator actually went down in the aircraft and ended up impacting the ground with the plane. Of course, the navigator did not survive. That's the end of that clip, but still showing the damage that was caused at the Tu-22 M3, and of course reminding us that the Russian military aviation, even at this point, is starting to be posed with a large amount of issues, as the ailing fleet is not able to get the amount of replacement and repair parts that would be needed to be able to keep these planes flying. But still, nevertheless, that is all of the breaking news that we have today. I've got to thank all of y'all so much once again for watching. If y'all have enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment.
Yeah, so far it feels like, everything's closing down on Russia, right? They can't think of a battle plan against Ukraine right now, at least. That equipment and everything is failing, planes are falling, right? Because of all the sanctions and things, it's not going to be easier, right? They even have to, like, resort to barter economy type of way with China and North Korea. This is kind of insane. I mean, you think, like, they would basically, like, okay, it's in our favor to try to find peace or something to move forward. I don't know. I don't know what their battle plan was in the first place. I don't know what their goal was in the first place. What they were trying to achieve invading Ukraine. Did they actually thought they're going to just take over entire Ukraine and nobody will have any problem with it? If they knew they had such a bad condition uh, in their own home where they can't even repair things and needs supplies from abroad, why did they even attempt this, right? Because clearly, obviously, global community is going to be pissed off, which they are. Obviously, sanctions would rise, which they did. So I don't understand, right? If if they did sort of it in advance, somehow stockpile it, somehow create some kind of an industry that can supply at least military things, I would understand that. But they didn't even do that, right? Their equipments are failing. Clearly, they don't have repair and things, right? I don't know. Sometimes it feels like, did they even thought through, like did they even think like, what if this war stretches out more than a year, what would we do? I don't know. It feels all confusing, but I don't know. So far, like, Russia has not much of an answer, right? Ukraine is still progressing, trapping soldiers and like still making progress, fortifying their position so they can be there for long haul or something. I don't know where this is going. Well, sooner or later there will be Russia's response. How strong that response would be, who knows, we'll see. All right, well, if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.